Now, since my last transfer target video, there has been lots of changes in the world of FPL. We're going to go through my updated transfer target list for Game Week 4 and give you all the breaking news and stats you need to make the best decisions ahead of this game week. Now, before we start today's video, we are trying to hit 8,000 subscribers before the resumption of football after the international break. So if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Right, first off, let's start off with some kind of news that has been breaking over on Twitter over the past few days. If you haven't seen this, or you don't have social media, then let's kind of run through what has been happening. First off, we'll start off with João Pedro. As you can see, he's been called up to the Brazil squad. Now, their last game of this international break is on Wednesday night at 1 AM, and if I remember correctly from what's been said on Twitter, the earliest he could be back in training is Friday morning, potentially, but that's even still a stretch at that as well. So for those that have gone for him on the wild card or already brought him in or maybe have him, it is something that potentially could be a concern for this game week. Just to maybe something to monitor. Obviously, we will have press conferences. We'll get further updates around João Pedro and whether or not he will be available for game week 4. However, it will be a massive blow for those people that have gone early on him, with a great fixture coming up as well with Ipswich at home, and it's just not quite worked out. It is such typical FPL, isn't it, that he's done well against, Arsenal, he's done well against United. Then he has two nice fixtures. And then all of a sudden he's out on international duty and he's not going to be back in time. It's just so typical of FPL. But with that one, if you do have him, for now, I would say hold. Let's wait and see a little bit more on this situation. See what the manager has to say in the press conferences before panicking and obviously making any rash decisions on that one. Same situation really with Cole Palmer, Ollie Watkins and Phil Foden. Not that they're obviously, on international duty. These players have been called back to their clubs because of injuries. Now, these could be injuries, or these could be, I would say, a little bit more of international break injuries, where players mysteriously pick up just random groin injuries or leg injuries, and then all of a sudden, they're back the next week, and it does feel like that could be the case. Obviously, Cole Palmer and Ollie Watkins have been dealing with some issues post-Euro 2024, so that might be something to potentially consider. That obviously the clubs don't want them going off playing more extra games than they need to. Keep them at the club, monitor them over that week, get them up to match fitness. Ollie Watkins and both Cole Palmer didn't really have a pre-season to get themselves into gear either, so you do imagine, I feel these are more just precautionary withdrawals rather than them being actual injuries. However, we are going to have to wait and see whether or not that is the case. I think Phil Foden is exactly the same thing. I know he's been dealing with illness. Again, a player who didn't see any minutes across Manchester City pre-season. So again, it feels like one of those where probably the managers and the players have just come to some sort of agreement and gone, look, it's best for me as a player and the club that I'm going to be representing this season that if I just stay back, don't go on international duty and get my fitness up, because I am lacking it after a summer at the Euros. So that's how it feels for me, but let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Moving on to some team data, and if you know me, I absolutely love this stuff from 11ify. If you want to go and check out the amazing website and all the work that goes into it, please feel free to check out the link in the description. First off, let's start off with clean sheet percentages over the next 6 game weeks. As you can see, Manchester City with some great numbers in there. Game week 4, pretty strong. Game week 5 and 6, it does start to dip away. However, 7, 8 and 9, very strong indeed. Now, I've had a few comments in the comments section kind of suggesting that City defenders are just not worth going for at the moment because they are conceding typical Manchester City goals where it's just one opportunity, one little mistake, an own goal, something like that. However, statistically speaking, it's just not going to happen every single week. There will be some weeks where they do manage to keep clean sheets, and I think with these very strong kind of odds for the next few weeks, especially match day 7 onwards, where it's very delightful and where City have an excellent fixture period, it definitely will be worth considering the City defenders. Now, obviously, Rico Lewis has entered the kind of, foray. Obviously, a lot of people still own Gvardiol, and maybe with Walker and Rodri starting to enter training as well, their positions could slightly change, and we might get the Gvardiol of own. So if you do have him, it might potentially be worth considering because he's still playing football. There's decent clean sheet odds coming up as well. However, with Champions League football around the corner, it might start to pose a potential rotation risk, so do just bear that one in mind. Arsenal are in this list as well. It is, of course, those fixtures in matchday 6, 7 and 8 that are definitely pulling this through. So if you are on a wild card in match day 6, I would be highly recommending picking up the likes of a Gabriel Saliba. Obviously, if you're in Timbers playing a Ben White, a Raya, definitely would be on my radar. I think for the next, I would say 4 game weeks as well, both Trent and Robertson do enter the kind of thought process as players from Liverpool. So definitely worth a little bit of consideration for them. We'll speak a little bit more about those two in further details. Then, of course, we have Aston Villa. I think the likes of Ezri Konsa, Martinez, definitely worthwhile kind of picks to speak about. Then Brighton as well. The next two are really, really good for their clean sheet percentages. Again, so maybe if you're on a game week 4 wildcard looking for a cheap 4.5 million defender that could rotate around, Lewis Dunk could be a fantastic option to go for. In terms of defences, we probably don't want to be kind of talking about too often. Obviously, Bournemouth right down there. Newcastle are starting to fall away as well, as are Fulham. So I think if I wasn't a wildcard this week, I probably would recommend avoiding Robinson. I think his kind of point scoring so far this season has been a little bit temperamental. It has been more around assists rather than clean sheet data itself. So that can't continue. It isn't sustainable. It won't happen every single week. So probably worth looking off shifting him if you are on a wildcard this week, or if you are on the wildcard and have him in currently, maybe worth considering targeting some of these teams for that 4.5 or 4.6 million slot from some of these teams a little bit higher up in the list, in my opinion. Moving on to projected goals for the next 6 game weeks. Again, this is coming from 11ify. City leading the way by a big margin. It is that huge fixture swing after match day 7 that is definitely pulling that, and the game week 9 fixture against Southampton as well. That is a cracker, and if you didn't play the triple captain in game week 2 against Ipswich, game week 9 could also throw itself as a potential possibility for using that chip on Erling Haaland. Again, 3.29, very good projected goal numbers there. Liverpool's as well. For the next 3 weeks, I would say are definitely positive. However, we do start to see a dip in 7, 8, and 9. So at that point, it might potentially be worth considering dropping Mohamed Salah. Also, Champions League football will just be right around the corner as well, so do be wary of that one. Arsenal's, as you can see as well, do massively pick up for that run of matchday 6, matchday 7, and matchday 8, where they face Leicester, Southampton, and Bournemouth. So Saka, Havertz, definitely going to be players that will be on the menu as well. Chelsea and Aston Villa are also a very two interesting options for me. I think the likes of Cole Palmer, if he is fully fit and available, could be a great option over the next few weeks. We've also seen his exclusion, if you like, from that Conference League squad as well, which does mean no European or no midweek football for Cole Palmer as well, which does, I think, makes him a really great asset to be owning. Aston Villa as well, again, they do have European football, but some very good fixtures in here. And if we maybe get some positive updates around Watkins, or obviously people that have gone for Rodgers as well, could be a great player to go and pick up. Teams, again, I would be looking to start to shift away from. Nottingham Forest, as we can see, a big demise in their kind of projected goal numbers over the next few weeks. The likes of Chris Wood probably will start to wane over the next few weeks. Also, Fulham down there as well. So the likes of Emil Smith-Rowe, Muniz, they will start to lose their appeal over the next few weeks as projected goal numbers do start to dwindle. Let me know what you think of that down in the comments section, but let's go and move on to some individual players. Starting off with Liverpool as a squad. As we can see, over the next 3 weeks, there's some great projected goal numbers, also some great clean sheet data from 11ify. So I think it's worth highlighting some players that you've probably not thought about, or maybe are on kind of the fringe of your mind outside of Mohamed Salah. First off, we're going to start off with Luis Diaz and Diego Jota. Both of these guys have had a pretty phenomenal start to the season. As you can see, very similar in terms of shots on targets, goal involvements, and of course their underlying data as well to go with it. You would argue that Luis Diaz is slightly better over the opening 3 game weeks compared to Diego Jota as well. However, I think these two still might not be players that I would be considering, especially in the longer term. Now, they might potentially do okay within the next 1 to 2 games. However, we do have Champions League football starting after match day 4. So this is something I wanted to make you aware of. The calendar, like the fixture congestion for Liverpool and the top sides this season is going to be ridiculous. There is going to be a lot of rotation coming up over the next few weeks. I feel that is a position that we're yet to experience this season so far in FPL. And that's probably why for me and my team, like, it's in a pretty bad state. However, I'm not hitting that wildcard button because I need a few weeks of UCL data to see how rotation actually impacts these sides. And I think Liverpool could be one of these. They've got a plethora of attacking options. They've got Salah, Chiesa, Gakpo, Darwin, Luis Diaz and Diego Jota, all fighting over 3 positions. And like I said, with that heavy fixture congestion coming up, I know they've got some great fixtures, but I think for me, if I was maybe wildcarding or looking for a transfer for this week, I don't think I would be having either of these guys in my side. Yes, they've got some great numbers and could do some real damage. However, I like players that are secure within their minutes and do exceptionally well within those minutes. And I just can't see those minutes staying secure for either of these 2 players. For me, personally, that's how I'm feeling at the moment. Let me know if you do differ down in the comments section. Continuing with that Liverpool theme, we have Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think obviously Trent is the standout pick here. As we can see, it is that expected assist that is just mind-boggling, to be honest. The big chances created as well, and the key passes over those opening 3 game weeks. Arguably, if you've had Trent, you're probably feeling a little bit unfortunate that it's not worked out in your favour. The next 3 fixtures for Liverpool, like we said, defensively with that 11FI data, are exceptional and definitely worth targeting, especially if you're on a game week 6 wildcard. You could basically just play those 2 next home fixtures and just go for it. Like, I would be picking up Trent if I was on a game week 6 wildcard, and I think that is the plan that I am going to kind of go with if we get news that Palmer is okay. I think for me personally, in my side, I'm going to be looking at that game week 6 wildcard, and I'm just going to have a little bit of fun with the next few weeks and just play people like Trent. The numbers that he's putting up are ridiculous, and at some point this season, he is obviously going to come away with a mega haul. A lot of people will be saying, does he justify that 7 million price tag? Liverpool have kept 3 clean sheets so far this season. He's had 1 disallowed goal, and his expected assists are through the roof. So I definitely think he will be justifying that price point at some point, maybe in the next few weeks with back-to-back home fixtures as well. Definitely will be a really, really good option in my opinion. Moving on to the other Liverpool defender. On the left-hand side, it is Andy Robertson. Now, this is an interesting take. I think if you look at all, like, you know, FPL Review, Fantasy Football Hub, even Fantasy Football Fix, all in their projected points model have Robertson doing exceptionally well, like genuinely really, really well over the next few weeks. And I do think it will continue. If you kind of look at some of the positions he's been taking up so far this season, he has been phenomenal, some of the positions he's getting into. Bombing down the left-hand side, getting into goal-scoring positions as well. Pretty good underlying data as well for a defender coming in at that 6 million price tag. Again, they've got that clean sheet data with 11FI. However, there is a little bit of doubt in my mind on Robertson, and it's mainly to do with Tsimikas and again that European football. We've seen both of these guys, Trent and Robertson, see some early substitutions over the past few weeks. Now, you can look at that in one of 2 ways. It's great because if they manage to get to past 60, they're locking in that clean sheet. So you're playing less time to get a clean sheet. Great, nice and easy. We can lock that clean sheet in, take the points away. On the flip side of that, there could be an even earlier substitution pre-60 minutes, which then means we get absolutely diddly squat for these 2, and we are paying a little bit more of a premium price for them, which is not ideal in any sort of scenario as well. So that's something to consider. And I do feel with Bradley and both Tsimikas coming on during these periods of the game where they have been, playing, I would say, to between 25 and 30 minutes, that, the manager feels comfortable to play these 2. Not start them yet, but I think with UCL coming around the corner, that big Liverpool fixture congestion coming up, I feel he's very confident in playing these 2. Now, I don't think he's going to start kicking in until maybe, I would say, maybe past this really good fixture run for Liverpool. So for the next few weeks, I think especially if I was on a game week 6 wildcard and I was looking to maybe take Saliba out or Porro out for the next 2, then I think these 2 would be fantastic options to go for. I do feel, however, longer term though, we might see a little bit more rotation like we saw and like I suggested with Diaz and Jota in the last section. But let me know what you think about that one in the comments section. Next up is going to be Eze. And again, the FPL community sold him off in flocks last week. And of course, he delivered against Chelsea. Now, both the Fantasy Football Hub and FPL Review absolutely love this guy as well. So from an analytical point of view, he seems like he could be one of the best players to go for. And as you can see with his shots, this guy loves to get some shots off. 7 in the box as well is absolutely fantastic. I think he might be second for most shots amongst all players as well so far over the opening 3 game weeks. And as we can see with Palace's fixtures, they're not that bad over the next few weeks. They play Leicester, yep, good. Manchester United at home, but I mean, the United we've seen so far this season doesn't look any different compared to what we saw last season. Everton, who are currently bottom of the table and are conceding goals for fun. Liverpool at home will be a difficult fixture, granted. Nottingham Forest away, though, pretty good fixture. After that, Tottenham at home, again, they still seem a little bit leaky. And then Wolves away. And I think with Palace as well, I think they will grow into this season and get a lot better. Now, they've obviously had to deal with the departure of Elise, and from that we have seen less created chances, we have seen less expected goals from this Crystal Palace side. I think that's probably down to the fact that they're having to bed these new players in, get them used to the system. However, Eze is still continuing to do what he did the exact same last season, and I feel it is just a matter of time before he does pop off with an absolute mega haul. I think these fixtures are great. There's a reason that both algorithms are absolutely loving him as well. So if you are thinking about maybe selling him off this week, it could be worth a little bit of consideration. I think number one, if you were looking to sell him off, I think you would be daft. I think if you've not got him on your game week 4 wildcard as well, maybe one to consider as well now that he has had that price drop down to 6.9 million as well. You could very easily have him for the next 2 and then switch to Brian and Mbeumo in game week 6 if it still doesn't work out as well. So just something to consider on that front as well. But I think for me, Eze looks like a fantastic option, and I'm a little bit unsure why people are selling him off. So if you are one of those people that are thinking about it, maybe reconsider. Both these algorithms have a lot go into them that make them tick, and there's a reason they are suggesting him. So just think about it. Now, finishing up, as I always like to do with my transfer targets videos, we're going to talk about, I think, arguably one of the most underused tools in the business. It is, of course, going to be Fantasy Football Hub's predicted points tool. Now, obviously, this isn't an indicator of future results. However, I do feel it gives you a good indication of maybe if you are thinking about certain players, and they also appear on this list, definitely worth some consideration in my personal opinion. I feel it kind of just cross-checks your own opinion sometimes. So let's take a look at some of the names on this list. As you can see, it is the 2 big boys at the top that are clear over the next 5 game weeks. Both Mohamed Salah and Erling Haaland. Very tight between the 2. And I do think if I was on a wildcard this week, I would be looking to go and get both of these guys into my side, to be honest, because realistically, they have some of the best captaincy options for this week. And then obviously Salah for the next 3, then Haaland for the 3 after that. So for me, it makes complete sense to have both of these guys in if I was on a game week 4 wildcard. Saka's in there, and I think again, if we look back to those projected goal numbers from 11.5 for obviously game week 6 and beyond, we did see some really good numbers for Arsenal for projected goals there, so that one makes sense. Eze, we touched on in the last section. I find it very interesting that he is 4th again in this list. Like I said, both this database and of course FPL Reviews kind of points database over the next 5 game weeks has him as one of the highest scoring players. There's definitely some positive fixtures in there, so worth some consideration. Cole Palmer as well makes this list. Again, Chelsea were on that projected goals numbers for 11.5. With him potentially having no European football to worry about as well, could be a potential great pickup in the midfield areas. Isak's in there, and a player that I feel a lot of people are going to be looking to flog off this week. If I had him, well, I do have him actually. I'm not looking to sell him unless I have to wildcard. I'm not looking to sell him. I'm going to keep him. I think the next 2 fixtures are great. If you look at what he did for Sweden as well over the international break, a brace for him there. Big plus in my opinion as well. I think some other names that are very interesting on this list as well. Nicholas Jackson creeping in down the bottom. Now, I saw him in an FPL Raptor video the other day as well. So maybe he's starting to get some good press. Now, he is always an XG merchant. Whether or not he can convert that into actual goals is a completely different story. However, Chelsea are creating plenty of opportunities, and if he can definitely take a couple of those in a game, could be worth a little bit of consideration as well. Like I said, the database is also loving Andy Robertson over Trent Alexander-Arnold. So maybe if you are looking for a way into that Liverpool defence with, you know, a little bit more maybe limited budget, Robertson could be your man. And then finally, down the bottom, it's going to be Jared Bowen. Now, if anybody has ever watched any of my content, especially from last season, you know how hot I am on Jared Bowen. Seeing his name start to appear here makes me very, very happy, to be honest. And I think the next 4, maybe even 5, maybe even 6, 7 fixtures for Jared Bowen and West Ham. There's some definitely mid ones in there, the Chelsea, the Tottenham, the United. However, it's Jared Bowen and he's capable of some very, very special things. And I think if I was wildcarding this week, he would be one of those players that I would be considering. I've got a very, very soft spot for him. I think he's an absolutely fantastic player, and it like genuinely makes me so happy to see him back on these projected points list. It puts it into my mind that I think I should go for him again. Like I said, I'm sure if FPL Aguero's in here, he'll probably put a video in on Twitter or something of what happened last time Bowen got his hat-trick. But for me, I think he's an absolute insane pickup, and yeah, that's all really to say on Jared Bowen. I've got a very, very big soft spot for him. I definitely will enter the team at some point this season, and now seeing him on this list is making me think maybe I go and find a way to go and get him in, especially looking at that Ipswich fixture in game week 7. Let me know what you think of all the players that we have spoke about or recommended in today's video. Did I get any right or did I miss any out? Let me know in the comment section below. If you've got any questions about your team as well, get them in, as I will try to answer every single one I possibly can with the limited time I have available. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in game week 4.